Aloha, hey, it's Julie Ziemelis, 365 Hawaii Real Estate Minute, and I'm with Real Broker, and this is my teammate, Amber Lane, and she's with Real Broker as well. And we are doing a spotlight on condo complexes in Kailua-Kona, and today we are at
Alii Villas. So Alii Villas is in downtown Kona, smack dab in the middle of Alii Drive. This is an oceanfront complex that was built in 1973, and it's mostly one-bedroom units, 126 units altogether over a 4-acre parcel of land. And this complex is fantastic because of the oceanfront, the breeze that comes in off the ocean. We have a saltwater pool, and it's perfect for viewing the sunset in the evenings. So Julie, we're here at Alii Villas at your newest listing, so tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so this is unit number 225, and we're 2 buildings from the ocean, so you have a nice, beautiful ocean view. And it is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, and it is about 650 square feet. Basically, the whole thing has been remodeled in the last few years. So you've got luxury vinyl planks, you've got a beautiful bathroom that's been remodeled, beautiful tile work. We also have the kitchen, which is like a beautiful setup. In fact, everything in here is furnished and it's ready to go, turnkey for a short-term vacation rental. It does have a permit. The owners actually lived here for a while last year, and so they started renting it out full-time just a few months ago, but it has already a great rental history. People really like this unit. They love the fact that actually it feels like a resort. You're not that far from the barbecue area or the pool area, and you're like obviously like within like 2 minutes of like just walking down to the ocean. What I really like about this unit also is the fact that there's a parking spot like right out in front of it, so you just come right up to the stairs, 2nd floor. Really great. Very quiet area, again because of the concrete experience. Also, you can come here and live full-time or do a split like these guys were doing. So it's a perfect for any type of living that you want to do in Hawaii next to the ocean.
Love it. So it's a fun fact. I actually used to live at the neighboring complex, Kona Makai, and Julie used to live
at Sea Village, almost next door too.
So we're very familiar with the area here, and some of the favorite things that I enjoyed about this area was it was so perfect for getting out for a walk or a run or a bike ride along Alii Drive. This is like the prime location for exercising. It's all level, it's all flat, it goes along the ocean. Early mornings and sunset time are the best. And so I used to actually run south and go down towards the ocean where Lyman's was. I'd watch the surfers, and then I'd go back over the rocks and kind of hop the rocks on the way back just to kind of get a little exploration and adventure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't done that one. Okay, you went on that one. But that's this interesting thing about this complex is the owner said, "Here's a key," and I said, "What's that do?" And she said, "You can walk along the front of the thing, right?" And so getting out on the rocks and being able to be out there, because that is all open, just so you guys know. The public can walk along the shoreline, no matter what it is, public shoreline access. So one of the things that I went to this way, while you were going that way, I was going this way. So I would run from our complex downtown, have a cup of coffee at Lava Java. Also, I would go to the front of Papacona's and watch the surf come in with the high surf days and look out over the whole Bay Area. It was beautiful. And then also, one of the things that Eric and I would do also is we would invite our friends to come and hang out and watch the sunset from the front of the complex. And that's what's great about this complex too, is that you go down there with your friends, there's benches, and you get a chance to be right there in the ocean, and you're just right next to, like, you bring your food down, your drinks. But the proximity to the ocean, this is classic, the reason why you want to be in Hawaii. It's right here.
Absolutely. And because you mentioned the built-in community, I noticed that too when I lived at Kona Makai. That's what I like about the condo complexes. There is a sense of built-in community that's already here. So whether you're retired or you're vacationing or whatever your situation, I was in my 20s when I lived in the condo complex. Everyone kind of gravitates out by the pool at sunset time, and maybe they're having a happy hour cocktail, maybe they're grilling their dinner, but it's kind of a little hangout sesh, and it was really cool. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and everybody's happier than hell too, because you're in Hawaii, you're watching the sunset, you're next to the ocean.
It brought people together. It was really special.
Yeah, very, very cool. And that's one thing too about this complex is I'm looking at everybody's little eyes. You can see there's quite a few people who live here full time, and some of them are short-term vacation rentals. And this being next to the ocean right here in the zone for vacation rentals, it does do STVR, so this is an investment investment piece of property that a lot of people have here, as well as their own personal homes.
Yeah, and I used to manage rentals, and so I've even had a long-term rental here before. So I think this kind of hits all the marks, whether you're going to be here full-time or seasonally, and you want to short-term it, or if you want to use it as a long-term, there's lots of different options you can use.
So one of the things when you first come in here, what you might think is, wow, they're concrete buildings, right? And having a concrete building in Hawaii, there's like pros and cons, right? I'm going to give a couple, I think, pros, if you'll take the con. Okay, pro for a cement building is I've talked to people who actually stay here and they like it because it doesn't have the noise problem, because it's a rock solid concrete experience. Also, the fact is that it's going to be stable. There's not going to be a termite problem. You don't have the kinds of problems with that you have in other condo complexes. They're all wood. So those are the two things that I think sell this condo for people who are wondering about like long-term experiences here. What would you say?
You know, I was like, I don't really have a con. I mean, I guess the only con that I can think of is that maybe you wouldn't like the curb appeal of it, but I kind of do. I think Alii Villas has this old Hawaii charm of the 70s. It has like a certain vintage feel to it that I actually really like.
Yeah, and the one thing though, and this goes for every oceanfront complex in Hawaii, anywhere in the world, is that ocean, when it goes up against the buildings, is going to cause some issues. So they did have an assessment here about 2 years ago because some of the salt had gotten into the buildings and called what they called spalling. And so they actually went and they fixed it all up. So now it's perfect. There's no assessments, but they're constantly on top of the maintenance here. So that's another thing too, that if you're looking for condos along the ocean front, look at their reserves and see what their plans are for maintenance next to the ocean, because there's always going to be something. So when we talk about condos, the second question, besides how beautiful is it and where is it, is which are the HOA fees. And if you guys don't know, that's homeowners association fees, and that's what it's going to cost you every single month to live in a condo here in Hawaii. And so about 2 years ago, the HOA fees were about $690, and then we had an unfortunate experience with the fires in Lahaina and the tragedies across the country, making insurance rates go up. And so we actually had an increase substantially about a year ago. And it went about, in some complexes it went up a couple 100%. So on this condo complex, it went up to $850 a month from $693. But the HOA fees cover a lot of what is, what you're going to need to do to live. It covers, cable and trash and maintenance and landscaping and
exterior insurance for the building,
yep.
On-site resident manager, the pool maintenance, the landscaping, a lot of different things.
Right.
So
somebody to clean the barbecues.
The parking, the paving, all of that is off your mind. It's being handled by someone else.
Roofing.
All you're responsible for is inside your unit.
Right. So basically, I'd like to think of HOA fees are basically forced maintenance fees that you had a single family house that you would probably not pay that kind of money aside to get a new roof that's going to cost you $20,000. Where HOA fees basically just make sure that everything is going to keep your investment in place and looking good. So that's what happened. And right now, what we're hearing is that the increase in the insurance rates have actually tapered off, and in some of the complexes has actually gone down a little bit. But if you hear people saying that they have to leave because the HOA fees went up, people on fixed incomes got they got a sticker shock when their HOA fees went up, and that's another reason why you're seeing some of those condos being sold in complexes that are for full-time residents. What's happened at the short-term vacation rental condos is that basically it's been passed on to the consumer who comes here and goes on vacation. So, and you have anything else to add to that?
I mean, sometimes I talk about, like yesterday I was talking about how they passed a law, I think it was in 2024, about the reserve study and how each complex and every HOA had to do a reserve study. And I can't remember if it was every year from now on or every other year, I believe. And so since that has become a law, every HOA went out and did their reserve study, and some of them hadn't been keeping on top of it. And so after they performed the reserve study, they found out that they were underfunded for a lot of the future maintenance of these complexes. So whether it was paving or the roof or the spalling or painting or what have you, they ended up having to slap all of the owners with special assessments to be able to get the reserve to the appropriate amount. So it was kind of the perfect storm between this new law that was passed and complexes discovering they were underfunded in combination with the insurance hikes, and it really scared people quite a bit. It scared people off from buying because it was a big jump. It scared current owners off from keeping their homes because no one likes a change, especially when it comes with a big price tag. And so people decided to jump ship and move on.
Yeah. In fact, I talked to somebody who said that, and he said he gladly paid it, that $125 every month of their HOA fees goes towards building the reserve.
Right.
Because they want to make it so it's healthy. So another thing too, when you're buying a condo, look at those CC&Rs and the condo docs and look at the budget. Because you're going to want to make sure they have a healthy reserve, because that's when something crazy happens. Now, we haven't been hit by a hurricane in a long time, but let's just say a hurricane came through and tore a roof off. You want to make sure there's enough money that you guys aren't going to end up paying $10,000 a piece all the way around the complex. It's going to be handled. And again, one thing too is nice about having a concrete building that we've had a massive earthquake here in 2006 and then nothing happened to this building. So this is a pretty actually safe place in terms of natural disasters, but the constant beating up of the ocean on the buildings does add to the fact that there's always going to be maintenance. And so healthy reserve is a big thing. And one thing I like about Alii Villas, the owners, we've sold 2 condos here, they actually say they're having a really great time with what's happening here with their finances. So since you lived on that side of the complex and I lived on this side of the complex, how about you tell them the cool things they can do if they go that way, and I'll tell them what to do this way.
Okay, so if you head south on Alii Drive, you're going to find some really cool beach spots. So the first one that you hit is going to be Banyans, and that's a really cool surf spot. And then there's Lyman's, which is actually my husband's favorite surf spot. It's really beautiful. It's a culturally significant spot. It's really cool to see the sun coming over the mountain as the sun comes up, and you're out there in the ocean and just taking it all in. And then after that is Pahoehoe Beach Park, which is great for picnics and just running around. There's some yoga classes that are there too. And then right after that is Magic Sands Restaurant, which is a really nice spot where you can sit out by the water and have cocktails and poo-poos or dinner. And they even have like a little lunch hut right in front if you're just out and about and just need to grab like an acai bowl or a Dole Whip or something fun. And then obviously right next to that is Magic Sand. So that's a really beautiful white sand beach. It's called Magic Sands because the sand comes and goes with the waves depending on what time of year it is. But it's really fun for swimming and bodyboarding. And then there's a scuba spot right after that at 4 Mile. People get in with their tanks and go shore diving over there. And then you're going to run into Kahalu, which is an epic snorkel spot where people love to go and snorkel. And then as you carry on further down Keauhou, you reach the Keauhou Shopping Center, which is my favorite grocery store down there at KTA. It's always stocked really beautifully, not too busy. And there's the movie theater there. There's some restaurants, coffee spots. And I love Keauhou because it's a slower pace.
Yes.
It's quieter. It's really well taken care of. And I live far away from there, but we still make the trek to go down there because we enjoy shopping there so much more.
Okay, so then I'll go that way. So one of the things that is nice actually in the parking lot of Sea Village is Green Flash Coffee. So that's within walking distance of this complex, so you can just walk right over and get yourself your breakfast sandwich or coffee. They also have some sandwiches, but they're usually not open for lunch, but really great place. And then as you're going down, then you also have, if you go down to Lunapula, if you go up a little bit, there's Tealicious, which has amazing pastries. It's a total cute little cafe. The locals love this place. I'm gonna give you guys a little secret. She keeps the prices affordable, and it's a really great place to meet friends down there. And then if you keep going, you got Honol's Beach Park, which is not the best for swimming, but people do go off it to do surfing and bodyboarding. And then you're basically coming up into the Kailua Village area, which now you've got your, you've got your restaurants, you've got your breakfast, you've got all the stuff, you've got, Huggo's on the Rocks, you got Huggo's, you got the Royal Kona Resort with John's Mai Tai Bar and live music on Thursdays. So you're in the whole, village area. And there is a grocery store down there. It's another KTA, and they've got fresh fruits and everything else. I think you're right, Keauhou is a little bit more like, put together. But for local flair, there's definitely the grocery store there. And also there's a huge Safeway, and that's for like, the people who really want to go there. But all that stuff, you go shopping, they've got like boutiques, they've got clothing stores, everything is also right down in the village area. So lots to do within 10 minutes of this condo complex. sitting here, it's June, and it's nice and actually kind of chilly. Because it's just that day.
Yeah.
I think people want to know what is the weather pattern here along the coast, right? So again, what would you classify the weather down here as?
Okay, so it's seasonal. So for about 6 months out of the year, it can be pretty warm. And we're in a complex that has jalousie windows, so it's made for like an open air kind of feel. Right now there's a beautiful breeze coming off the ocean, but there's definitely times of year where it gets hot and still maybe not a breeze, and you have all of your windows open, and it might be a little warm for what you're used to.
Do you see the fan above our heads?
When I lived down here, we had to sleep underneath the fan. We did not use air conditioning, and it was just like a time of year where we jumped in the pool quite a bit.
Yeah.
But then for another 6 months of the year, it's a very comfortable climate. I don't think you would really need AC unless you're that kind of person. But it's definitely geared for more of an open air feel in this complex.
Right. And as I tell people, there's a butt for every seat. Some people like it really warm. They don't want to be at Mauka. They don't want to have 65-degree mornings. They want it to be warm. So it normally does not get below, I'd say, during the middle of the winter time, it really doesn't get below 70 here. So 70, 69 degrees is pretty much as cold as it's going to get. And then during the summer when it's really warm for us, we think it's really warm. It never gets above 89, right? And I used to think, 89. But some people, like in Austin, Texas, it's 105 degrees there all the time.
Right. I know.
So, and those hot temperatures of 88, 89 are only a couple months out of the year.
And it's for like the peak of the day. And that's one thing is like during the day, the water or the wind comes off the ocean. And then at night, the wind switches and comes down from the mountain. So that's really cool air that comes in. You can sleep with your windows open. It's really comfortable. It's cool in the mornings. It's just like the middle of the day that gets hot, and that's usually when you're out and about. Maybe you're at the beach. Maybe you're working. Whatever.
Maybe you're hiding in Target for the air conditioning.
Maybe. Or sitting in front of a fan.
Yeah. And also, it's interesting too about Alii Villas is the fact that they do allow split air conditioning systems. Obviously, if it's running 24/7, it costs a lot of money to do that. So we always usually tell people just acclimate. It usually takes about 1 or 2 days to get used to the humidity and the warmth. But that's the reason why we have fans. But if you really like a room that is 68 degrees, go for it and get that AC. And then one of the things we talked about the jalousie windows, because they are louvered, that one of the things happens is because it's not an airtight experience, that some of the cold air does leak out a little bit. But the thing is that if you're sitting in an air conditioning unit, doors closed all day long, maybe Hawaii isn't for you.
That's how I feel about it. When I first came here from Florida, where you're just in one AC box to the next AC box, my mind was blown at the open air feel. I absolutely loved it, and so I didn't move to Hawaii to close up all my doors and windows and sit in AC. I liked the fact that it's a breezy, open space.
Yeah.
It's kind of what you're going for.
Yeah, and also what's nice too about living next to the ocean, it doesn't have to do with the temperature so much as it does with seasonality, is the crashing waves. So watching the swell, and like you're talking about going to the surf spots, just as a spectator to watch the surfers, but also be here when the waves are coming and just, the ions are in the air because they're splashing, and we get these huge swells in the wintertime. And so it's pretty exciting to live along the coast too during that time.
And then in the summer, it's almost like a lake out there. So if you're really savvy, people just jump off the rocks and they'll go for a little dip out there and bring your snorkel and climb back up. But you definitely have to be nimble if you're doing that.
Yeah, and that way also, if you're going to Magic's or if you're going to the pier to go swimming, you're basically just walking right into bathwater. So it's good. I'd say 98% of the time here.
So I got a question yesterday at an open house. A couple was trying to decide whether or not they wanted to buy a condo or a house. If this is a question you're thinking about and you'd like to see a video, let us know in the comments below. But what I told them was, number one is the price point. To be able to afford to live this close to the ocean, to have a pool that you don't have to take care of, to have landscaping that you don't have to take care of, and sure, you have to pay the HOA fees, but I think with a single family home, it ends up being a lot more expensive between the price point and then whether you're doing the landscaping yourself, that costs you your time and energy, or you're paying a significant amount. I told them I just got a quote for a new roof this past week, $93,000.
I told her to call somebody else.
So that's the kinds of things that you don't have to worry about. And this couple was retiring, starting this next chapter of life. I can tell you, you do not want that stress. This is so much easier. And then not only that, but you have other options. So this couple was also thinking they might not be here full time. Maybe they'd go back and visit children. Maybe they'd travel. They have the option to rent this out short term or long term. Just a little bit more flexibility, especially there's an on-site resident manager. They don't have to take care of anything. So to me, if I were in that phase of life, this would be a really great option for quality of life and peace of mind.
Right. In fact, we were looking at condos yesterday with a gentleman from Southern California, and he's 70, and he said, for the love of him, I'm done with a single family house.
Totally.
I don't want to deal with the plants. I don't want to
Yep.
deal with the cost. I just
Yep.
want to be in a smaller area. And he came from a almost 3,000 square foot house. And he's like, I just want to feel what it looks like to live like a 900 square foot space. And they walked in, and they're like, we could do this. And he looked outside. He's like, oh, none of that landscaping is my responsibility. I don't have to mow another lawn. And so he was happier than heck to say, you know what? We want to downsize to a point where there's less things that we have to clean and take care of, and we can go out and enjoy the reason why we came here to Hawaii, and that's being outside.
Absolutely. And it really depends on the type of person you are. Like if you have a bunch of extra hobbies, or if you're someone who has a bunch of tools or a bunch of gear, a condo may not be for you because the storage is limited. Sometimes there's storage closets and things like that, but for the most part, it's limited. And so if you have a bunch of things and stuff and gear, then at that point, I would probably steer you towards a single family home.
Yeah. And also what we'll talk about in another video when we do our condo neighborhood spotlight is we will talk about one or two other complexes here in Kona that are not stacking condos. They make you think about doing duplex style or ones that are basically standalone in the neighborhoods that basically operate under an HOA, but they're basically their own little spaces. So we'll tell you about that in the next video.
So what's the best way to get a hold of us?
Hey, so you can actually look at different kinds of condos that are on the market in single family homes at 365hawaii.re.com. That is also how you are going to get a hold of us. Both of us are on the website. You can also go to join the Ohana, and you can actually be part of our ecosphere of getting more involved in the community. We have Facebook groups to help you understand a little bit more about life here, but also my 365 Kona Newbies group is great for answering the questions about actually moving here and talking to people who already live here to ask those questions about what life is like here. And then I also have the 365 Hawaii, I'm moving to Hawaii and buying a house group, and you're going to be getting all of our real estate updates. We're going to be doing lives there, the whole thing. So if you guys are digging in about what it's like to live here and how you can afford it and how you make it work, join our Ohana and get in there. And we're also doing monthly newsletters. So and we also offer volunteer experiences too, so you guys can actually get really involved. So with that, we will say aloha.
Aloha.